Nigeria's election regulator, Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), appears to be headed for a showdown with the National Assembly over the date and schedule of general elections next year. Lawmakers in the country recently amended the order of elections, separating the day of their own election from that of the presidential election, sparking controversy over whether they have the powers to do so. INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu now says the election body will adhere strictly to its own date and schedule of the elections.
That is the only way they can operate.
For weeks now, there has been an ongoing debate over whether national lawmakers have the power to alter the timetable and schedule of elections in the country after they amended the Electoral Act to allow for their own election to be held on a separate day from that of the president. INEC had fixed presidential and National Assembly elections on the same day, as has been the usual practice. But the lawmakers chose to insert a clause in the Electoral Act fixing a separate day for their own election, an action most people argue they had no powers to. The Constitution empowers only INEC to fix the dates of elections in the country. But the lawmakers argued what they did weren't against the provision of the Constitution. INEC had been quiet since the debate began, but the national chairman of the commission has now chosen to break his silence over the amendment made by the lawmakers at this meeting with journalists.
On the 9th of January this year, we issued the timetable and schedule of activities for the 2019 general elections, based on our powers under extant laws, and nothing has changed. The election will begin with the Presidential and National Assembly on the 16th of February, followed by the State Governorship, State Assembly, and the FCT Area Council elections.
How the lawmakers react to this remains to be seen. The amendment is yet to be enacted into law. It still has to be sent to the president to give his assent. But the lawmakers have made it clear that should the president withhold his assent, they would veto him. The coming days will no doubt be interesting. But away from the electoral schedule amendment, the INEC boss touched on the issue of underage voters in Kano State. He says the commission is dispatching a team to the state on Wednesday to investigate allegations of underage voting during the local council election held there recently.
For all those who registered in 2017, the cards will be ready for collection in the first week of May. The reason for the delay is that we need to do the needful, what the Electoral Act says we should do in terms of display of the register, and also to ensure that we thoroughly clean up the register, to ensure that only those who are eligible for registration under Section 12, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act are duly registered and their names are on the voter register.
This meeting also provided an opportunity for journalists to ask questions about the continuous voter registration. Professor Mahmood assured voters in Ekiti and Osun states that they would get their PVCs before the governorship elections in both states in July and September, respectively.
For the Ekiti and Osun governorship elections, we'll devolve the continuous voter registration to ward level. We are looking at the month of April to do so, particularly for Ekiti. The governorship election is already scheduled for the month of July. By the time we conduct the continuous voter registration exercise at ward level in the two states, the commission will have additional 400 plus machines to deploy to other states of the Federation to speed up the process.
The INEC chairman also says the Commission is very much worried about the issue of vote buying during elections. He says the election regulators are working with the EFCC and other security agencies to address the issue, including issues like party and campaign financing.